All right. So who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
Just because I don't know exactly how we're supposed to do this, so I'll wing it. Although I do have stuff planned out to say. So.
That's good.
Okay, so my portion was the play section. Sorry, I have dual screens, so I'm looking at your picture on my second screen and my information on the first. And so, yeah, my first one was play. And so to start off, I did want to ask you guys, what's the benefit of playtime for children? Just shout out.
I think they get to release a lot of their pent-up energy, and they can usually after playtime they either take a nap or they can do like quiet activities or kind of settle down a little bit and focus.
Right, that's so true.
Yeah, my mother-in-law always says that play is children's work, that's like their job, playing, and that's their way of, learning and discovering and growing is through play. So
I like that, combining work with play. And I mean, if you think about it, the reading really did involve a lot of that. So one of the things that it said was that children play for exploring and experimenting with different things, and it provides learning and creativity and innovation for these children, and it can also do the same for us. And so some of the benefits that I saw of play were just those things: experimenting and broadening our minds and seeing what else is out there, exploring new topics or ideas that we can gain from others or ourselves. So it gives us the tools necessary to expand our knowledge, or like the book says, make us smarter. It activates a part of the brain that helps for cognitive cognitive growth, which we also provide with children, and working on their gross motor skills and different things like that. And let's see. I have discovery and learning also happen through play. So little did we know that we do a lot of simple acts every day that encourage play, such as a smile, facial expressions, tone of voice, and gestures. Those are just simple acts of engaging in play that we do every day. And so that was something that they pointed out in the book, and I just didn't realize how those things could apply to play. One thing that they pointed out was the challenges that are affected by play and how they pertain to adults. So one of the things that's hard for play and getting it into a professional environment is that play just does not sound professional. And it doesn't sound serious, and it's, some say play is just for children. It shouldn't be done in certain places. Play should be used in all aspects of life, though, is something that we learned in the book as well. But there are rules to play, and just as children have rules, adults can have rules to play as well. So even though we would be applying them to our professional environment, we still can follow rules that go along with it. So one of the things that they said was negotiation. So being in an environment and allowing others to share their opinions, maybe in like a group meeting or something, or so you can still have acts of play, and that type of play, you're still broadening your learning and everything, because you're hearing other people's opinions. Therefore, it can be considered play, but it's still like an environment where people are sharing, how they feel about certain aspects, or just ways that they could help others grow. I guess could be other ways of negotiation. Other things that adults have problems with the idea of play is that they're scared of judgment, and so don't don't judge during brainstorming. Okay, so sorry, I just reading my notes. Yeah, so one of the things that adults have problems with is just being judged by others. So this idea of play is just, saying what's on your mind or saying an idea that you have in a group meeting, but holding back from saying it because you're scared of what other people might have to say about it, or shoot it down or something like that. So that also hinders the idea of play in a professional environment. Another challenge adults face is the opinions of others, and that's why we hold back, and that can cause us to lose our freedom of play. So let's see. One thing that I wanted to relate was how, for me, I know I've been in certain classes where you have the teacher and they're just lecturing in front of class, and it may not always be like exciting. It's kind of a boring class, but every once in a while you get those teachers that are super excited and pumped to talk about their lessons, and they're so passionate about what they're sharing, what their lessons are, and really love their job, and sometimes you can just really see night and day with certain teachers. And so I think that that's a great example of the type of play in a professional environment. And I know that for me, those teachers had the bigger impact on me because they showed different ways of learning, not just lecturing, but lecturing with meaning and lecturing with expression and emotion, and those are the things that we remember, and just having that learning experience from those teachers. So one thing the reading said was that while it is important to take work seriously, we don't need to take ourselves seriously. When I thought about this statement, I tried to think of an example of how this could be applied, and I was thinking of a story in a presentation as a form of play as well. It shows a form of engagement with our audience in a fun way, but still, being professional. Basically, anything that gets the audience to smile or laugh, like they said in the book, is something that can be considered playful. And it gets your audience comfortable and in a comfortable environment for them to learn. So one thing that I liked that the reading also said was that people are not in business of people can say to you they're not in the business of entertainment, but there's nothing wrong with creating an engaged brain, is what the book is trying to get their point across. And an engaged brain does sometimes equal an entertained brain. So even though people could say, I'm not in the business of entertainment, well, that's the hard part, is that in order to entertain someone, or in order to engage someone in the topic that you're discussing, you want to entertain them. So that's what I got out of the reading. Just, play is just a really good way of growth in all environments, and play does not just apply to children, but to adults as well. So that's it.
I think that's good. I think you covered it really well, and I think that is really an important part of it, to make it so speakers aren't incredibly boring. Is that they're, they enjoy it. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Right. All right, Johnny, you want to go next, or I can? It doesn't matter.
I'd be glad to.
All right.
I had proximity, and I split it with Beth, so she was kind of going to cover the first part. So I just covered a few of the headings in the chapter, and the first part is where it says technology should be invisible. And I read that and was thinking, well, if you're having to do slides, how can you not let them see the computer? And as I read through it, it seems to me that the main point is that if you're using technology to help get your point across, make sure that the focus is more on you than the technology. And I don't know if you've been in a presentation like this. I know I definitely at least see it in Relief Society. If there's older women who are trying to use a video or something that, they go to use it, and then you spend 10 minutes of them trying to get it to turn on and to push play, and they aren't sure how it is, and then they can't find the right place on the video. And I think the main thing I took away from this paragraph is that if you're going to use technology, make sure it's set up before you start and that it's already to the place you need it, so that people aren't sitting around waiting, watching you load up your computer. And I think that's definitely important, because that can really distract from what you're doing. The next heading was "The show must go on," which the first line says, "Little mistakes can happen, but so what?" And I think that right there is key to being able to be a good presenter. I don't know if either of you have ever gone to Time Out for Women.
Yes.
Yeah. And okay, well, they have excellent speakers, and those are people that know how to present. And I was at one in Dallas, actually, and while we were there, the power went out, like right in the middle of it. So all of a sudden, there's no sound system, no lights, and we're in this huge room with probably, 300-400 women. And it was Mary Ellen Edmonds that was speaking. And, she barely started, and all of a sudden the lights go out. And at that moment, it would be very easy to just be like, oh, well, my slides aren't working, the microphone's not working. But instead, she just walked down off the stage right to the middle of the audience and started speaking very loudly and says, "Can you all hear me?" And everyone's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Okay." And she just kept going and gave her whole entire talk basically in the dark. I mean, there was windows, but didn't let the fact that the power went out stop her from delivering the message she had prepared. And I thought, what a great example, because things can go wrong. And especially, as we just saw with this meeting, if you're relying on technology, things can go wrong. And when you're trying to give a presentation, you've got to be able to just roll with the punches, or else, you could let a little thing become a big thing if you focus on it. Let's see. And then one other heading was "Make your visuals big." And I think that's important. I don't know if you've ever been to a presentation where people have slides up there and you can't hardly read it or see it, even if you squint or unless you're right up next to it. This also reminded me of theater. I've done a lot of theater through high school and college, and I know they always said when you're up on stage, you have to make very exaggerated movements where you feel almost kind of silly, and you think no one would actually, wave their arm that huge just when they're speaking to someone. But when someone's sitting in the back of the theater, you have to do big movements for them to see it. And so I think the same would be said for, any visuals you have. They've got to be bigger than you'd even think they need to be, so that anybody watching can get the point of them without having to strain their eyes. And then the last thing I want to touch on was they have the section of the book where Ken Robinson gave tips on public speaking. He was apparently an expert on public speaking and creativity with his teaching. He was an educator. And I liked all the points he made. He had 6 different ones. And some were pretty obvious, like know your material. And there were things like remember you're speaking to people, not just an abstract group. Be relaxed as possible. If you're uptight, then the audience is going to feel that same way. If you're relaxed, they'll relax. But the one thing I really liked that he said was his number 5. He said, "Prepare but don't rehearse," which, if I go back to my theater background, is totally contrary to what I would have thought, But I see that that's a good point. But yes, you need to know the material and be prepared. But if you rehearse it, which I usually tend to do if I'm trying to give a speech or a talk, I want to memorize it line for line and rehearse my facial expressions and everything. And then it really just comes across as being rehearsed. It's like you're reciting a monologue, which is fine on the stage, but when you're trying to deliver a message, it really just comes across as being a little robotic. So I liked that advice a lot. Prepare, but don't rehearse. Anyway, that's what I got from my section.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I had passion, so I guess all 3 are represented in this meeting.
Yeah, that worked out.
So, even with technical issues, that's awesome. So in the very beginning of the passion section, he talks about how the Chinese character for passion are feeling and heat. And I thought that was pretty interesting because when we think of passion, we think of things that are very emotionally connected to us and things that are very dear to us. Some things that I wrote down are love, music, art, family. Some people even are passionate about statistics. I'm not. I'm taking a class, but but some people are passionate about that, and they really, really love it. My major is marriage and family studies, and I am passionate about that. I wouldn't want to get a degree in something that I'm not passionate about, because then it's going to be like work. I want to be able to have fun at work and to be passionate about my work. So what are some things that you guys are passionate about?
Probably just like my marriage and, you know, my husband and my own family, like you said. My dog.
Yeah, I would say similar things to what you listed with family and relationships, and then I would also add I love gardening and I love music, anything with music.
Awesome. Some of my passions, besides the ones that I thought up, are reptiles. We have several snakes, geckos, bearded dragons, so a lot of fun reptiles. And also reading. I love books. Books are my best friends. Some books are my family because I just read them over and over again, but I love reading and books and learning. And it means something different to me than it does to a lot of people. But ever since I was a young child, I loved to read and I loved books. So those are some of my passions. When we think of passion, the opposite of passion is dull and droll. So you don't go to see a performer because they're dull and lifeless and they're not exciting. No, you want to go see a performer because they've got lots of energy and it makes you excited and happy, and it makes you kind of come out of your everyday life and kind of come out of that rut and just enjoy things and not have to worry about everything else, but just enjoy what's going on around you. One of the topics that was in the book was talking about mirror neurons, which I thought was really important for passion. Even as babies, humans copy other humans. We copy how people do things. I have a niece who's 4, and she copies everything you say. You say, "How are you today, Lexi? How are you today, Lexi?" But it's actually a sincere form of flattery to be copied by somebody. If you think about it, we copied our parents growing up. That's how we learned how to do things. We copy people that, well, I feel like I'm saying a lot. We copy people that, excuse me, sorry. Silence those. Okay, we copy people that we want to emulate. I used to be very, very shy as a child, and I wouldn't talk to anybody unless they were like my family or people that I knew or had been around for a really long time. And that's something that I wanted to change. And so I started watching people. I started watching people who could talk easily to strangers and people who could talk with just about anybody and make small talk. That was a hard one for me. I didn't know what to say to people. And by watching those people and emulating them and trying to mirror what they did, I was able to be more extroverted and to be able to talk to people. And I talk to strangers in the grocery store now. Who knew it would have unleashed, you know, this babbling person who talks to everybody. So but it's a good thing to mirror and to copy. And then the last one I wanted to touch on was smiling. In the very last part of the passion section, it talks about smiling. One of my favorite quotes is from Steel Magnolia. And Dolly Parton's character says, "Smile, it increases your face value." And that is so true. Smiling is so contagious. If you walk down the street or into a grocery store or into the doctor's office and somebody smiles at you, what do?
You smile back.
That's right, you smile back. Part of that is that those mirror neurons, we automatically do that back to the person who's talking to us. So if you're talking to somebody who's excited and happy, then you're going to feel excited and happy and want to share things that are going on in your life that are exciting and happy. If you talk to somebody who is depressed and doesn't want to do anything, then you're going to feel kind of depressed with the whole situation and talking to them. Because, again, going back to those mirror neurons. So in our presentations, we have to have passion. We have to excite the people that are in the audience. And from us being excited, whether or not we know a ton about the topic, or whether or not, we're totally prepared, as long as we have passion, yes, preparedness is important, and yes, all that's important, but if you have passion about your subject, and if you're passionate about teaching somebody what you know, then that's going to come across a lot more than, say, like if you have technical problems or something like that, then they're going to be more understanding, more willing to, sit still while you're trying to figure things out, as long as they can tell that you're passionate. I watched one of the TED Talks that Sister Cundiff recommended about introverted people and coming out of your shell. And at the end of it, I realized I had just watched 19 minutes of this presentation, and it felt like 2. Just because she was a great speaker, and she was passionate about her topic, and she was, very excited about what she was talking about, and excited to share her information with everybody. So that's it. That's what I had.
That's great.
I,
Is it up here?
Oh, yes!
ah,
Maybe?
Maybe. We'll see if she's able to get on.
Okay. Beth, are you there?
Sort of.
Well, if we can hear you at least, so if you're ready to
You can hear me? Yay!
Yeah! We just can't see you, but that's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, just please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just finishing up, and Joni and Emily both already went, so if you want to go ahead and give your speech, even though we can't see you, we can still hear you.
Okay. Yes. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Please. It's fine.
Okay.
I just want to do it now. It's late. Sorry. My husband's been helping me and
Yay for techie husbands!
like still trying to get it to work, and I'm like, I don't care. Just forget it.
we can hear you. That works.
That's right.
Okay. So I'm super bummed. I was looking forward to hanging out with you guys, but I will watch back what you said. Joni talked a little bit about proximity, and I will talk about the rest that she didn't cover. So I've learned in my life the value of proximity and physical distance and what it can do to either facilitate or interfere with connecting with people. I think of things like teaching Relief Society lessons or primary, or even just interacting with my kids, and how far apart we are definitely contributes to whether or not we feel connected. So it makes sense to me to apply that same idea in this new forum, in this new sort of public speaking way.
Mm-hmm.
I also, well, there are 3 main points in interacting using proximity that the author talks about. He talks about shortening the distance between yourself and the audience. He talks about making sure that the audience is close together. I don't know if you guys have much experience. I assume that you do, but I remember I was teaching gospel doctrine, and unfortunately we were in the chapel, and everybody would sit in the back. So they were really far away from me, and they were really...
Uh-oh.
Oh
I can't hear you anymore. Oh, it was working so well.
no! I know!
Beth, do you hear us? Oh, darn it.
Man.
Well, I thought, Rose, as you were going and talking about passion, I felt like passion, I feel, can automatically provide the proximity and play. Like if you do passion really well, it just naturally brings in the proximity and the play, because you're engaging with your audience and just like creating that environment where they're like learning and everything, and they can have fun through your passion, and I feel like they go hand in hand really well.
I think that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it like that, but it does kind of seem like it's one of the more important parts, and it just leads into the other ones. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that either, but yeah, if you have passion, you're more connected to your audience, and so your audience feels closer to you, even if, like Beth was saying, they sit in the back of the chapel.
Uh-huh.
I'm a back chapel sitter. Oh, goodness. But yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but that's really interesting how it kind of brings everything together. Oh, and we completely lost her. She just...
Darn it.
Oh, well.
She's going to try and get back on, or if we just record and post it.
I don't know.
I think we can just post what we've got, and she'll
She's
add.
typing something in. Let's see what she says.
Okay.
Thanks for putting up with me. I'll just watch and summarize the recording and post my portion on the discussion board. Good night, ladies. Sorry for all the trouble. No problem.
We all understand.
Yeah.
All right.
I will post the link. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, then I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, unless we have anything else that we need to discuss or talk about, or insights, or...
Oh, I think we covered it really well.
Yeah, I think so too. All right.